Eszter Bornemisza is a fibre artist living in Budapest, Hungary, working with recycled paper, textiles and other found soft materials. Trained and having worked as a mathematician, she began the transition to textile arts in the mid-90s. After having made art quilts for more than 10 years, her interest has turned into creating transparent wall hangings, objects and installation using ripped, overprinted newspaper with additional elements of printing, dyeing and painting. Anyone who has had the privilege to admire Esther's work in person can probably relate to the feeling of being drawn in. Her work offers the viewer the opportunity to indulge in the details, yet reveals equal complexity when viewing from afar. Surely this is the sign of a great artist. The choice of newspaper as a basic material plays a central role in her recent work, as it provides further visual experiences by its ephemeral character. It also represents the overwhelming avalanche of fake and relevant news we have to distinguish day by day. It's clear to see she draws inspiration from the graphical appearance of urban maps, old or new, real or imaginary, with experimentation and research being her primary tools for developing ideas. Labyrinth-like maps and many dead-end streets have been a visual metaphor for a journey to find her own identity in the art field. Esther's work addresses issues related to past and present cultures of place, the layers of existence. Personally, when viewing Esther's work, I can't help but contemplate the human condition of ageing and the impact we are all having on the very planet that sustains us. But tonight will be a wonderful opportunity to hear from Esther herself, gaining further insights into her life and what it takes to become a world-renowned fibre artist. So let's get started. Hi, Esther.
Hello.
I hope you enjoyed your slideshow.
Yes. Thank you for putting this together.
Oh, you're most welcome. I did take liberty with your artist bio and put it together with a lot of your words. So that was wonderful. Thank you so much. And where you are all the way over in Central Europe in Budapest, how are things over there?
Well, difficult. We are in lockdown and again in lockdown. So that is the situation now.
Yeah. You must get a lot of work done during that time though?
Yes, that is the advantage of the lockdown. First, to meet a lot of people online whom I didn't meet before, and have stronger connections with people because of this, and also having much more studio time, which is great.
Beautiful. I can certainly relate to the online connections, and I told you yesterday, this is our first Friday Feature Artist back for 2021. So it's a bit nerve-wracking, but also very exciting. And Noni's here watching. Hi, Noni.
Hello.
And Chrissy Day. Hi, Chrissy. Thanks for watching. And we've got Catherine DeSetton from New Zealand. That's gorgeous. So for anybody new watching tonight who hasn't joined us before, you're most welcome to make a comment in the comment section, and that'll pop up on my screen. And then as Esther's talking, if you have a question, when it's relevant, I can put your comment up on the screen and Esther can answer the question for you. So please feel free, if there's something that you'd like to ask Esther, please pop it up, or even just some words of encouragement is always really welcome. So thank you, Susan. It is good to be back. Wonderful. So Esther, first I wanted to start off by, first of all, congratulating you for your wonderful, wonderful piece that you submitted to the Art Textiles Biennale through Fibre Arts Australia. And congratulations on your win. How was that for you? Was that fantastic for you? I mean, seeing your piece, but yeah. For people that don't know, I'm just going to put a photo of your winning piece up. Would you like to talk a little bit about your piece and what was the meaning behind it?
Yes. So I was actually always attracted to layering in a physical way, so putting layers of fabric on top of each other, and this way kind of getting layers of meaning on my work. So this work is about memory. As we go older, it's just a matter of time that memories fade out, and significant places of vital events that have lived with us vividly become fragmented, making the recollection more and more difficult. And at the same time, perceptions recall after images that appear in our mind with different aspects and even with different emotional loads. So we struggle against time with this repeated reminiscence. We try to keep our lives together.
That's beautiful. It really was a spectacular piece to witness in person. It had a real presence about it. You walked into the room and it was placed on one wall, sort of you came around the corner and it was sort of to the right, and it was like it did capture your attention instantly. And we actually did a little bit of filming of the piece. I'm not sure if you'll be able to talk over the film, but I'd love to share that with you so that you can actually see it on the wall. And so people watching can see it on the wall. And one thing that you're probably very used to in your work is that your work is so transparent and light, is that it actually moves in the space.
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah. So
yes, and the transparent piece makes some shadows if the light is very straight on them. So that gives an extra layer, which I really like. So
have a look at this, and hopefully we've done it justice for you. Just wanted to show you a little piece and the viewers of it actually moving. So we'll see how we go.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. So I don't know if you can hear us. So you could probably talk if you'd like, Esther.
Okay, I see it and I hear you. So yes.
Yeah, you can talk about it. Like, yeah.
Definitely, it was a challenge because the background, non-transparent layers is made of paper pulp mixed with concrete cast on canvas. So it was quite a struggle for me to finish it. And then I distressed it and cracked into it and sanded it and and it has also, as well, the memories are some kind of represented by places, the maps of the places where we were at the time. And these maps, the same, in different scales, appear in the background, very faded, very fragmented. And then they reappear on the front, transparent pieces. So they are sometimes overlapping each other, almost the same. So I like the idea that you have to go very close to a piece to see the details and what is in the background, and then have a look from far away. What does it have to do with the whole image and what comes obviously into your eyes, like the reddish and bluish things. And also, I use the positive and the negative, or if you like, the inverse images of the same map. So the red one is the positive of the blue one. And it is again the same thing with the middle transparent piece. So the same thing appears in very many different aspects. As you know, I was thinking on when you are retold memories, when your parents tell you or someone tells you, you remember this, you will remember that, but maybe it isn't your original memory, but the memory of telling the memory, and so on. So it has very many layers. And Yes, and it's just a matter of time how they get faded, how you can keep them together, your own history, your own story. Yes,
Yeah.
getting aged, white hair is brings up these questions,
Yeah.
and seeing your parents passing by and elderly people who knew the stories, who remembered you remember this and that story. These people are gone, so it is you who have to remember
Mm.
and tell
I
the
love,
story for your children and
yeah. I love what you said about the notion of memories become memories. And then when you were saying that, I was thinking memories, they turn into grand stories, don't they, almost?
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I love a good story.
Yes.
Um, we have a couple of questions. Catherine asked, how big is this piece? That's a good question.
Oh, the piece is, I think it is 180 or almost 2 meters wide and about the same height. So it is actually quite big.
Yeah, fantastic. I spoke with the gallery, not owner, but the gallery curator today, Crystal Stubbs and Sonia at East Gippsland Art Gallery. That's where your piece is currently being hung, and it's part of the Art Textiles Biennale.
Yes.
And they said that they've had people driving from New South Wales, from Canberra, obviously all over Victoria to come and see this wonderful exhibition. So it's proving to be very, very popular in this really very beautiful little gallery in a country town in Victoria. It's amazing.
It's really actually wonderful to hear about a physical exhibition in the world somewhere where your work can be seen physically. Even we are living more or less in an online world with online exhibition, online discussions, and everything online. So I'm really, really very pleased that my piece is hanging there in Australia and people can have a look at it.
Jenny says, my husband's driving me down to the gallery tomorrow to see the exhibition. Looking forward to this beautiful piece. Yeah, Jenny, you'll love it. Yeah, yeah. And we've popped a link to the East Gippsland Art Gallery. Interested in finding out a little bit more about the exhibition. It's there. And of course, there's the Art Textiles Biennale book. It's a beautiful catalogue. You would have probably seen that, Esther, and it showcases all of the work.
Yet, but I'm looking forward to get it.
Yeah, it's very good. I'm sure Noni and Glennis will post one out to you, and you can order that through their website as well. So we'll put a little link up on where people can order that. But what I'd really love to know, Esther, is what was it like growing up in a Soviet country and becoming this artist? What was your family like, and how did you become so creative?
Well, actually, really, I grew up in a so-called communist country, which was very much under Soviet control. So we had very much the Soviet school system. And the theory was that everyone should be equal. But it seemed to me in my childhood that rather we should be uniform. We should think uniformly, we should talk uniformly and dress uniformly. And I didn't really like it. And when I went to school and came home and told my parents a story that I was told this and that, I was told by my parents that, okay, this is the official version. You should say this at school, but it was in another way around. But you shouldn't talk about it. It's safer. So I felt that a lot of things in history or literature, like, is kind of they are having double readings, or they are very unsafe, unsure. So I felt it's better to keep away from these things and talk the least possible, not to make a mistake that by accident I say something that I heard from my parents that would bring a disaster. So after a time, I found myself talking the minimum when it was very, very unavoidable. Then I talked about things at school. So I thought that there are things which are safe and sure, like mathematics. What can be proved? It is proved. What is the solution? It has to be. It is the solution, and it's evident. So later at school, I wasn't good in mathematics. That was the problem. But funny thing happened when I was in high school. I was about 14 or 15, and we had. And the next days, we were supposed to write a test in history with all the dates and names of kings and God knows. And I wanted to skip it somehow, so to avoid it, I didn't know really how. But then I heard about that there is a contest in mathematics on that day in the afternoon. It is a nationwide contest held once in a year, and actually everyone could enter who was interested. And I signed up for it. My teacher was very much surprised why. And I said something that I like to be challenged or something like that. But the main reason was that whoever was going for this contest in the afternoon didn't have to go to school in the morning, not to be tired. So that was my point. So I had a free morning. I could sleep long and could go to school in the afternoon. And I also got some chocolate from my mother, and that was very rare thing at that time. And also the thing that we had 4 hours for a few problems, and there was absolutely no risk if I can do something or if I leave without getting any result. So there was plenty of time. There was no stress, no risk. And I think I was mainly unsuccessful with maths because there was always a time stress. I always miscalculated because, I have to finish. So this time it was extremely relaxed, and I was just playing around with the problems and writing down some things. I didn't even know what. And for my greatest surprise, I got into the next turn where only a few hundred kids from the whole country got in, and very few kids from the very best mathematician out of my schoolmates. So the first thing was that the teacher was, after that, he was looking at me with different eyes, and I looked at myself with different eyes. So funnily, from that point on, I was a good mathematician. And I found out that I'm able to find out so-called elegant solution in maths. That means you try to find associations from different fields or faraway fields and apply it to your problem, and this way trying to avoid lengthy calculations. And also it's like a joke. It's a good idea and good way of solving things. And sometimes also, if you gave 2 or 3 solutions, there are different solutions on the same problem, you got the points extra. So you didn't have to do all the unavoidable calculations, but you could get good points on your test this way. So I kind of specialized myself on this and really enjoyed it. Yeah. So kind of this thing led me to study mathematics at the university. But when I was there, I felt a little bit rather disappointed that this is not really my cup of tea. But at that time, you couldn't change subject at the university. So that was also a very strict Soviet kind of higher education. So you either drop down, and then it was very difficult to start with another university, other subject, almost impossible, or you finished what you chose. And that was in my case.
And then mathematics took you on to a career in researching, is that right?
Yes. So at the beginning, I was very, very desperate what I shall do with this. And I was specialized in mathematical statistics. And at the beginning, with my first workplaces, I found it very, very boring and not really good until I met some sociologists, and it came out that mathematical statistics can be very well applied on sociology. And at that time, in the 70s, this sociology was still a little bit like an underground thing. So because sociologists knew much more about the society after researching it than what the official propaganda was saying. For instance, they knew about inequalities and poverty and unequal chances for children, and it didn't fit the propaganda. So I was lucky to be able to work in a workplace for sociological research, and I found very interesting and open-minded and critical people there. So it was fun to work with them and learn a lot from them.
Yeah.
That's finally where I settled, and I was in a very wonderful little team developing new statistical methods for social research.
I want to talk about your family, and because I find that we'll talk about your transition now from mathematics and from statistical research through to art making, because I love the contrast. I think it's fabulous. But one thing that struck me, what you said, was elegant solutions. And I feel like already that is a beautiful way to describe how you treat your art. I can imagine I can imagine you in your studio and working on elegant solutions to your art, just like you did with your mathematics.
You don't work on that. It is intuition that comes sometimes, but like many other things, this needs to be exercised too. So they don't come just out of the blue, but you have to think about things and do physically feel your materials, have the ideas, and these two things let these things interacting in you, and then there is place for intuition to, in the better cases, to get an elegant solution.
Yeah, I love that. That's incredible. One thing I hope that you like, was that I did a bit of maths myself. And that was in regards to some of your statistics. So bear with me here, okay? And from your CV, you've done 44 solo exhibitions, 112 selected group exhibitions, and so that equates to 156 exhibitions, both group and solo, over a 25-year period. So you're averaging 6.24 exhibitions per year. That's pretty incredible. So that's what? That's one exhibition that you're working towards every 2 months on average, roughly. That's prolific, would you say?
Yes.
I just thought you might enjoy those stats if you'd ever counted yourself. But that's fantastic. I'd love to talk about some of your exhibitions and the process of preparing for one. Is it quite a lengthy journey for you to plan an exhibition and then prepare for it, or what's the process like for you?
Well, actually, when I changed my life from being a mathematician to a studio artist or making textiles in my whole time. At the very beginning, I applied for an exhibition, a juried exhibition in Holland, and I got in. And not enough that I got in, but I got the best of show prize plus the best design prize for the best design prize. So first, it gave a big kick off for me, and second, I realized that from a faraway country in Europe, as where I am in Hungary, the way I could link to the rest of the world's art quilters or textile artists could be that I apply for exhibitions, and if I'm in, then I get the catalogs and I get know other people and how they work and what they express. So I get somehow more connected to people. And so that became my practice. I was really researching for possibilities, where and how to enter exhibitions. And of course, with a very mixed success. So I got very many rejections. But when I was accepted, it was a great thing for me. And I hope that I felt that I can step out to the world and show what I'm doing. And it was a great feeling.
Mm.
So that's why I'm in so many group exhibitions. And after a while, I became encouraged to try to apply for solo exhibitions, because I felt that my CV is kind of getting rich enough to encourage me to apply for solo exhibitions. And when I got them, so it was like an avalanche slowly growing, and it was kind of a strategy for me to build up things this way.
Yeah, I like that, the avalanche slowly growing. And I also like, and you've done a number of written interviews which are fantastic to read. Anyone can have a search on the internet and have a read through. But one thing I found quite profound was that you visited an exhibition, the quilt exhibition, and then you set your intention right there and then that next year you were going to be, and you hadn't made an art quilt ever before, and you were like, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to make that, and I'm going to. Well, you didn't. I don't think
actually the story how.
Tell us that story.
I changed from mathematics to textiles because I've been sewing and stitching all the time. I got a sewing machine from my father when I was 13, and I didn't really know what to do with it. But I found an old chest with my grandmother's old clothing in it at that time, and I realized that I could fit them for myself. And also at that time, as I said, you were supposed to dress in a uniform way, which was also the result of that you could get very few things in the shops in Hungary, and what you could get that was grayish or bluish or gray or anything in between the two. So not really unique or nice. So I could change my grandmother's dresses to fit myself, and that's how I started really stitching. And then I got a little bit more encouraged and sew my own dresses. And then later I've got a family and 3 children, and I was sewing for my family. And I also figured out how to make shoes, and I stitched shoes, but really heavy winter boots for my husband and winter coats. And so I love to experiment with these things, and I didn't learn these, so I found out everything by myself. And I think experimenting, the sense of experimenting is coming from my family. My father was an experimental surgeon, experimenting on animals, and my mother was a nuclear physicist. So they both solved problems in the house, like my mother fixed the electricity problems. My father was mending the upholstery with his curved surgeon needle. So they actually found out in a very creative way all the things that needed to be done around the house that needed some knowledge, but they didn't have, so they had to figure out. So this sense of thinking I inherited from my parents, and I used them when I started stitching and doing things by myself. And so yes, and then and also I discovered patchwork for myself when I didn't even hear about this word, what it means. But I had lots of rests, so I stitched them together. But I didn't know about quilting. So anyway, I made jackets for my kids when they were at school, and someone told me that, oh, they look like quilts, these jackets. Why don't you meet up some quilting people? And I got connected to them. And they were just in the middle of organizing a tour to Lyon, to the Lyon Quilt Expo the next year. So I joined them. And that was the first time in Lyon when I saw contemporary art quilts. And I realized that they were like contemporary paintings made of textiles. And I always loved art, and especially contemporary art, going to museums and galleries, but never felt skillful enough to do it myself. But still, since these pieces were sewn and made of textiles, it made a click in my head that, oh, I could do this. And I was brave enough to decide that these expos were every second year in Europe. So I decided that the next time my piece will hang on this exhibition.
Have you got some water?
So, and so it did. So coming home, I dropped into trying to make quilts and was really enthusiastic about it. But but I was still a mathematician, and I still had my proper job. But so it had been a translation of some years to make the decision, and I couldn't have done it without the very supporting family, especially my husband, who really saw that I do enjoy much more when I'm stitching than if I have to write my reports on my research. And so he supported me really very much to do the change. And let's forget that you don't have your not so high but regular income, and encouraged me to do it a whole time. And I could have a little studio in our home, and I was really happy when I was there and I could do what I wanted to do. So that's how it started.
Were your parents
little accidents in my life, how to become a mathematician and how to drop being a mathematician.
I think it all comes down to not being afraid of taking risks, having the support and following your heart, really.
Yes, I think it is very important. And also growing up with the feeling that repetition is boring. So I felt that most of the time at school that it was boring because we had only to repeat what we were told. And there is nothing exciting in that.
Yeah.
But when seeing my father, how he's going to fix things where none of the fixtures you could go and buy in the shop. So he had to figure out, and sometimes it took days. And he went back and was thinking and tried this and tried that. And so that was something that I grew up with. And I think kind of unconsciously it got built into my ways of doing things, especially with my hands.
Yes. For anybody that missed it, Esther's dad was an experimental surgeon. So forgive me if I'm wrong.
A nuclear physicist.
A nuclear physicist. So, I mean, kudos to you. That's amazing. and I feel like, yes, you've grown up in this environment that was non-conventional in the time because your dad was quite creative and your mum was, fixing the electrics in the house.
Creative, yes.
Yeah, and you grew up with this natural ability, or it was just normal for you to all problem solve?
It's not an ability. It's something that you learn unconsciously. Yeah. You grow up with this somehow.
Yeah. Were your parents still alive when you transitioned into full-time art making?
Yeah, actually my father died before, but my mother was still alive. And actually she was also very supportive.
Yeah.
In this, and she liked the idea.
That's excellent. I'm really pleased to hear that. Yeah. I'd love to show some people that are watching some of your work, Esther. Your story is just incredible. Like, you're incredibly brave and it's awesome. And I think that it shows in your work as well. What should we start with? We've got some beautiful pieces here to show everybody. Because we've been talking about layering in your first piece, A Matter of Time. Are you happy to talk about this one here?
Oh, yes. As you told at the beginning, I love to work with newspaper. And because of its ephemeral character, because the news that are in it are somehow not relevant at the moment. When you read it, it is the past, but also they have very significant traces of the near history behind us, a few years. So when I'm stitching in it on them, I love to read the headlines and find them so ridiculous that we had those little problems at that times, and what are they compared to nowadays? So I love to work with newspapers, and I love to make it transparent. So I cut out kind of the street system, and I both use the positive and the negative. So here you can see on the right hand side that the streets are a confluent system, while in the piece back behind it, we see only the blocks and the streets are empty. So I like to play with the positives and the negatives. And this piece is called You Are Here. And it is based on the experience when you go to a place you didn't know before. You have a printed map in your hand, you have your phone in your hand to see online, and then you come to a signpost with a third kind of map which says you are here.
Yes.
And then you are totally confused. Okay, but where? And this is a feeling of getting lost. So this is kind of a symbol or metaphor for being lost and and you should be able to find your place after a while, but being on the edge of knowing or not knowing. And so in this piece, I only used pieces that were cut out from other pieces, and I kind of collaged them, and each map is a different layer, so a different piece, and they are put behind each other. So it's quite big. It's almost 3 meters wide, almost 2 meters high, and the depth is about 0.5 meter. So
wow.
Yes, when you see the detail shot, it's taken from the side.
Wow. Yes. Okay.
And also, in this big jungle of things, there is a little red dot that is here. You can see the upper left corner.
Yeah.
And so that is the point that you need to find where you are and put all these things together on your iPhone, on your printed map, and then the signpost map where you are to find the earth under your feet where you are. And the funny thing is that when I made this thing and it was exhibited and I was looking at it, that was the point when I realized that all my work that was done for almost 20 years with maps, it is all about my journey trying to find my identity as a textile artist, or as someone who tries to express feelings or messages through the textiles, what she's doing. So
yeah,
when I got to this point, it is really a complex, big thing with all the feeling of insecurity, but the dot is there for the point of reference and your relation to it. I found it kind of a mirror to myself. Oh, I've been doing this for those many years. Isn't that funny?
Yes. And I love how the dot is so universal as well. Like at every point in our, like everybody probably watching has had a map and experienced that, oh, I'm here. Catherine says, a bit like a journey where your map may not correspond with what you assume. And
Yes.
then suddenly you find yourself at the label you are here, and somehow it all makes sense. So that's beautiful.
Yes. When all the things are coming together. But I think in this piece, there are both stages in it. So you can get lost among the many layers, and also seeing the first layer and then focusing on the next one, and then focusing on the shadow on the wall. So, and then suddenly finding the point of reference. So that brings the whole thing together.
Did it take you a while to feel like you'd found your voice as an artist, like to find meaning in your work? How long did that take you?
Yes, I always thought, when I was doing the actual work, I always had an idea in my head, but never got a self-esteem or to feel safe on the field until about 15 years have passed, and I felt that I can really express things, and I can maybe pass on things to people who are watching my works, and yes, and self-confidence I needed to have. Although I was producing quite a lot and I had success, but success is something for the second. So you get accepted somewhere, or you get a prize. It's wonderful, but then you get self-critical, and when doing the next piece, and it's not good. And but I'm very, very lucky to have a very good friend who is a stage designer and So we are working on very different fields, but we have a sense into each other's work, and she's a very good critique for my work, and it's great to have someone sometimes when you get totally desperate. It's not good. It's not working. So
yeah, I agree. Having that support network and someone who can just pick you up.
Talking about this, I find it also very important to be in artist groups. So I was very lucky having been accepted to the 62 group that is based in Britain.
Yes.
And earlier on, I've been in the quilt art group that is also an international group, and I have a small Hungarian artist groups as well. And it is wonderful to be in these groups because you are in a community where you can discuss things, you can discuss works, and also you can exhibit with them and see what they are doing, see what their statements are, how they are thinking about their work, or how and what they express, and what and how they want to say to people. So it is wonderful to be in communities like this.
Yes, I totally agree. We'll pop a link up to the 62 group website. It's a really great website to go on for anyone who's looking for just some inspiration, and there's some great articles in there. And I think they do workshops. Do you run workshops through them as well?
Some people do, and each member has a little sub website, so you can read about if they're teaching or giving talks or.
Yeah, I think that's timely advice, is to find, we sometimes describe it here as finding a tribe of like-minded people.
Yes.
Yeah, finding a tribe.
Like-minded people is always important to have, but also critical people is important to have.
Yeah. One of our tribe is beautiful Francie. Hi, Francie. And she just wanted to say that she visited Budapest in 1990 and loved your city. And she brought an embroidered tablecloth. Isn't that gorgeous? A memory of a beautiful. Oh, she's beautiful. And Jeanette said, thank you for the fascinating story. Yeah, and the timely reminders. I think as artists, yes, it's about questioning always, isn't it?
Yes, it is a very, questioning yourself, being critical to yourself. I think it is very important, and asking yourself, okay, I wanted to express something, but is it there? Or is it too obvious? Neither of them is good. So if it is not there, what you wanted to express, or if it is too obvious, I think neither extremes are good. I think it is, I'm satisfied or I'm happy with a work when it is kind of on the edge of conjecture and comprehension.
I like that as well, because art is very subjective.
Yes.
So, and how much do you want to influence the viewer?
Yes. Yeah. And I really don't want to influence people. I want to draw them in and think and have associations or their own thoughts, but I don't want to tell my own story to them. So many people ask that, oh, you have this very good story about your work, but when you exhibit, you cannot always put your story next to it. And I say, when I get finished with a work or it gets exhibited, then I release them. So then it is the task of the audience or of the people who do something in it. I have nothing more to do with it. I can't stand next to it to explain, and I don't want to. What I would like to achieve is to make people stop, to draw them in, and to evoke some emotions or associations in them, to relate to my work with some way or the other, to address them somehow.
Yes. Yeah. That's a beautiful insight. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, I'm sure everyone out there's just their jaws are dropping. Do you ever find it hard to, when you finished a piece and you know it's going off and it potentially is going to get sold, is it hard to let go of them at times?
You have to send it to an exhibition and get it shown. It's great. But sometimes if they get sold at the first exhibition, when they are kind of warm out from the oven, then I feel pity because I wanted to see it more and to be seen at more places. But of course, you do so much, and if you look at your storage, you feel it's good. And if it's at a good place and people live with them in their apartment, or it's part of a gallery, then it is wonderful to have this feeling that it is owned by some people or seen in museums.
Yeah. I've got so many questions for you, Esther. I'll try and be quick. So Christine here has just asked, who are your artist inspirations? It's a great question.
Yeah, well, I have a Hungarian female painter who had a great impact on me when I started making art quilts. When I started, I knew some technical things and I learned technical things but that is easier. You partly find out things works, or you get books, but I had no formal training in history. So what I did, I started to look through art albums, and especially contemporary art albums and books, and try to explain and verbalize for myself why I find a piece intriguing, why something draws me in, and to put it in words so that I can use them for my own work. And when doing this, and this was a long process. First, we had lots of art books, and second, I did it more times. So after the first row of doing it, I did it again to see how I think about the same work at the second, after I've seen lots of others and kind of evaluated many others. And I found myself that my points of view have changed. Yes. And so I hope that to learn something about composition, about colors, about contrast, and all those things that you can learn in a formal art training. And so I was doing it for myself, and it was really a wonderful journey that I did. I spent lots of time with it. And by doing this, I found a wonderful Hungarian female painter who is called Lili Ország. Probably you will. Oh, here is one piece of her, and her layering of urban layouts and enigmatic scripts, and relating to history and layers of history and layers of meanings. The spirit of her works, that really drew me in, and she had a great impact on how I would like to work. So she was collaging and painting and this together. And I thought I can do something similar with transparent fabrics and using different quality fabrics. And so a little bit technically, but mainly in her way of expressing, or the spirit of her works.
Yes.
That had a great, great influence on me, and that was really, really inspirational for me.
Yeah.
Many other artists do. And I also still love to go to contemporary art exhibitions and see what is going on in the world. I think
Mm.
it is very important for an artist to know, and not only getting ideas how you could turn your ways of working or your ideas into a physical thing, but learning about the way of thinking of other artists and how you can relate to them or what you can learn from them, how they inspire you. I think it
Mm.
is very important.
Yeah. Yeah, understanding why something appeals. And I think it relates back to this digital age as well. It's very easy to keep scrolling and click and like and tag something and scroll, 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 but to actually stop and think, hang on a minute, why do I like this?
Yes, yes. So contemplation always needs more time than running through things online or even in a book. But even if you do it quickly online, there are some things that draw you in, and you have to stop and contemplate. Why is it so intriguing? And it is good that you can relate to these, as I would like that people relate to my work like this, as I relate to other people's work. So it's a long process of learning,
Yes.
learning how to read art and how to do it, or striving to do it.
Yes. Yes, that's right. Jenny asked, do you ever work with papers? And I think you do, don't you? You make your own paper pulp and
Yes,
yeah.
first with newspapers, and then I thought that I would like to try casting paper. So I blended a recycled newspaper, and I made my own pulp and got some books and read on the internet how to cast paper and made my own frame and did the casting several times, and I got nice papers. And I thought, okay, this is done. I can do that. This is boring. I should do something different. So first I started to do the pulp in a different way. I harvested Russian sedge on a lakeside, and the books said that you should cut up the leaves in 2 3 centimeters bits. But I wanted to have a rich texture, long fibers, and lots of them. So I didn't cut them up at all, but cooked them uh, as it was prescribed. And I got a big jam of kind of when your yarn is getting jammed up, and but it was wonderful and I really loved it. And when you cast it on something, then it gets a very rich texture, a dimensional texture. So I tried to find out what if I cast them on a 3D thing. So I built armatures of chicken wire, covered it with air drying paper clay that I also learned from the internet, and then I covered them with my own paper pulp, which had this wonderful texture, and also to how long I cooked the paper and if I discharged it or not. They had wonderful shades of off-white to almost white or dirty white. So all these wonderful colors of off-white that I got. So I really enjoyed them. And well, actually recently, last year when we were in the first lockdown from early March, when I was actually supposed to be in Australia to teach for Fibre Arts Australia, but I couldn't go.
Yeah.
Myself, I have a lots of time and I could do things that I always postponed and never had the time for. And so I started to go on with these 3D things. And while we were in a very intense time when there were lots of news, things were changing for day to day. We were in insecurity with this pandemic, what we can do and what not, and what news are fake and what not, whom should I believe and whom not, and which media is relevant. And so there were so many questions. And while I was working with these, I always started from very simple 3-dimensional geometrical forms, and I distressed them and biased them. And as I was thinking on the today's news and problems, somehow they got shaped into them. So
is that the image?
Meaning after a while. So I don't know if you can find one of the words that is called swallow it, not this one, swallow it whole.
Oh, this one. That's what I was going to ask you. I was like, I'm sure images. I wasn't sure which one to put up.
So it started as a simple cropped cone, and I shaped it to a very, very simple face. But swallow it whole, it's both about what you eat as news and what you believe, what is going on, and you know, there are so many things that are obviously not true, but what is on the edge, what to think about those, how to think about it. And lots of bites are stuck in your mouth and you don't know if you should swallow them or get them out. And also it was at the same time, because we were in the lockdown, you should have been very careful how you shop and what to shop. And because if you don't need 2 eggs, you cannot run down to the shop because you don't do it so often. So you have to be very careful. And also because of this, you think more about what you eat for God knows how long time. And of course, you don't want to eat pasta with pasta all the time, what is at home, but you want to eat. So there were much more thought about what we actually eat. And also, so it's kind of a piece with double meaning, and maybe it is one of the pieces that are too obvious, but I felt that I need to express this feeling of getting a big bite stuck in your mouth and not knowing what to do with it.
Yes.
I had a wonderful flow of doing these things, these three-dimensional things during the lockdown till the summer. And in the summer we had a little bit of ease up so galleries could open and 10 people in masks and keeping distance could go in. So I got a wonderful possibility in my favorite gallery that is in downtown Budapest. It's called Fibre, and it is located in an old bank building, and in the basement of it there is the vault of the at that time bank, and this room is totally painted black. The floor, the ceiling, the walls, everything is black, and we could have just spotlights on the works. And I really was very happy with it because the works were like floating in the air, in the darkness, and they were just lit by the spotlights. So, and because we couldn't have a big opening, I organized guided tours or something for smaller groups with 10 people, and could talk to people and hear their associations, their thoughts on them. And so yes, here is a bunch of them together. So this was a wonderful opportunity to show these words.
That's incredible. I just loved that space, and funnily enough, where your work's hanging now at the Art Textile Biennale in Bairnsdale, that's an old bank as well.
Oh,
and it is actually the old bank, and they have a vault in the back, and they have some beautiful pieces hanging in the back. So if anyone's, Jenny, I think you're going tomorrow, but yeah, head into the vault. It's pretty cool spaces, art galleries, aren't they?
yes, yes,
Very spaces. I get the feeling that Europe would have some amazing contemporary art to visit.
Yes,
Yeah.
when I was in 18 in Australia, I visited some wonderful places in Melbourne and Sydney, the contemporary art museums. So
Yeah.
it was wonderful to see something very different from here. And all the contemporary art by native people.
Yeah, our indigenous
the words. So yes, I found it amazing and really inspiring. A totally different point of view, but wonderful.
Yeah. It would be remiss of me not to mention that you have a large solo exhibition in Australia at the moment as well, which is pretty exciting. And that's run at Timeless. Sorry?
Coincidence.
Yeah, coincidence. Through Timeless Textiles. So they're based in Newcastle, which is up in New South Wales. And Anne has very kindly said, yes, shout it out. We'll pop a link up on our comment section so you can actually purchase your work online through that exhibition. And I was having a little sneak look today, and a lot is sold. There's a nice variety of prices and sizes, and very, very tempting, I must say. Yeah, very tempting. My husband's shaking his head in the background. But I would really.
I nodded. Yes, I meant them to be tempting.
Of course. So please, check it out online. It's really great. Or head to Timeless Textiles. They do some wonderful exhibitions there, and this is not the first.
Also, on the website of the Timeless Textiles, there is also a short recorded conversation between me and Anne Campton about the exhibition and talking about some of the pieces. So it can be an addition to.
I can see that. That's fantastic. I think having the opportunity to hear an artist speak about their work is just, it's very, very, it just feels like such a privilege. So, and your book, Esther, we must talk about your book. Which one is it that people can order through Timeless Textiles as well?
Yes, actually, both my older book from 2010, and this is the newer one.
Okay.
They are there to show one copies that people can look, and they can be ordered through Timeless Textiles. And we decided that if after we got the orders, I can send the books in a box, so it is not so expensive than to send people separately, because postage is extremely expensive. So we could get a better price for them. So if someone there physically can have a look, but also online you can order them with Anne and through the website.
Yeah, I think a bulk purchase or a bulk shipping is always handy, isn't it? Especially from internationally.
Yes.
We've been talking for over an hour, and I'm conscious I don't want to wear you out, Esther. I know it's early. You're okay? You're good? I get the feeling.
I'm getting it.
Okay, let's keep going then. Okay, I just want to show people your awesome studio. So your studio is within your home.
Yes.
And I think you can just get a sense of Budapest in the background so you can see there's the mirror there that Esther's sitting in front of now, and check out that view. Oh.
Actually, from the right side window, in between the chimneys, because this is on the top of a flat roof, this room.
Yeah.
You can see to the Buddha castle, which is good to see. Yes, and here is the big mass.
Is it hard to keep organized?
Yes, it is, but sometimes, when searching for something, it is good to sort out things and find forgotten pieces of materials and getting new challenges to work with. So this room, actually, where my studio is, was built extra to our apartment many years ago when we have got 3 children, and it was built on a flat roof connecting to our small apartment. So the thing in the middle of it is a chimney that we built around, and there's another chimney in between the windows. So it has a very unusual shape, but I really like it. But it is big, so I really enjoy. And there's lots of light. So from 3 directions, from the east, the south, and the west, I have windows.
Yeah.
So it's really, really light. And lots of light in it.
Looks like a nice place to get lost in.
Yes, yes, I can get lost there.
At least you've got plenty of maps around. You can find your way home, hey?
Yes.
We had a question earlier from one of our community members, Grace Cross, and she was just wondering how you do your actual grids. And we spoke about this earlier, and it was okay to ask this question of you, but how is it possible to get those fine lines of stitching and cut it all out?
Well, the big secret is that I'm actually working on water-soluble paper or fabric. But of course, it is a complicated process how I work with it. So it cannot be explained in a few sentences. So last time when I had my workshop at Fibre Arts Australia in 2018, I had a 5-day workshop about it.
Yeah.
So, it is a process mixed with ideas and expressions where it is a technique, but also, I think, a way of thinking that I wanted to give through to my students. And actually, there is another workshop that is already fixed for 2022 with Fibre Arts Australia, where I'm giving a workshop that is titled Expressions with Maps. So it won't be exactly about this technique, but it will be part of it. So if you would like to know more, there is the possibility.
Yeah, fantastic. That's so exciting that we can all start planning again. And I know Noni is going to be so excited to have you in 2022. And
I'm looking forward to it because my last time it was amazing. I really enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, it's a great event. They've actually got their very first one coming up on the 9th of April. I'm just looking at my calendar, and it just feels so good to be able to come back. I know there's probably a little bit of trepidation with people booking and maybe, should I? I don't know.
It's nothing is sure for the moment now. So
yeah, but once we're all
hope that it will happen.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Esther, it's been so wonderful talking to you. It's just been an incredible privilege, and I just love your insights that you've given people. We spoke a little bit last night about the peaks and troughs, and you touched on it today. Is there any advice and I know you don't like the word advice. We spoke about that as well, which was really great conversation, guys. Esther believes that you can't give people have to come up with their own solutions, and not, if you give them advice, it's really not helping someone.
As a teacher, I can only lead them or help them to find their own solutions.
Mm. Is that how you?
Yeah, so I think I experience myself that sometimes I'm in a wonderful flow and I can't actually reach myself in thoughts and doing them. And one idea comes after the other. And at other moments, I find myself totally empty and it's the end of the world. I have no more ideas. I don't know. And almost falling into depression. But I think then at this moment, I come up to my studio. If there is an order, then I start to make a mess. And if there is a mess, I start to sort out things. And just touching the materials and feeling them. And okay, I should finish this little example and see how it works that I didn't have the time before. Then this starts giving you ideas and thinking more deeply about what you have in your hands and what you can do about it. So if it comes about an advice or whatever it is, I would say doing and doing and making and making is very important. Even if you don't feel that you have a gorgeous idea that you want to translate into the language of textiles, but just doing exercises and working with things that you find, sorting out things and finding forgotten bits of things that you fell in love years before. It's a good practice to do. So when I'm in this situation, I'm trying to remember myself. Very with logic, not with emotion. Go up to the studio and do something, and usually it helps.
Yes. Yeah. Bless you. That was amazing. Go up to the studio and get working, people.
Yes.
Because you never really just do 10 minutes. It always turns into longer and then it just, yeah, that's beautiful. Esther, we always finish by showing a little slideshow, just a video, and it's a nice way to end, and people can put up their messages and say thank you so much. So on behalf of my family to yours, thank you so much for spending this time with us.
Thank you. It was really magnificent. Thank you for being invited for this wonderful.
Oh, it was so great.
Talk.
Yeah, it was so great. I can't wait to meet you in person when you come to Australia in 2022.
It's going to happen.
Yes, and everyone enjoy the exhibitions that are out at the moment in Australia. If you can get to them, it's well worth it. Get out there, support your galleries, support your artists. And thank you once again, Esther. So we'll see you soon.
See you soon. Thank you.
See you next week.